Boom, we're live, buddy.
The stream is live, it
The
says.
stream is live. So what's up, man? So how you doing?
I've been better.
Yeah.
I've been still that cough is still hanging on. I've had it for like 8 weeks. I had a chest X-ray and a CT scan this week, so
Wow.
we'll see what the doctors say.
Yeah,
I'm
I've been
I'm I'm,
I've been a
I'm
little
like
under the weather.
80% better. It's just hanging
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, you've been sick for a while, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Harry B, what's up, man? Kevin Hawthorne, thanks for coming in, guys. Make sure you hit that
I
like
can't
button.
see no chat. How come I can't see chat? There it is.
Got it?
Yeah, I got it now.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I've been actually a little bit. I've been feeling a little bit crazy with my chest and like breathing and stuff. It feels like I got
Yeah.
a yawn all the time now. It's like, so I
I
don't
was
know.
wheezing tonight.
Are you?
Wheezing. I had this doe come in, and I was setting up the cameras. I was going to try to shoot her,
Yeah.
and I took a deep breath, and I was like, "Oh man!" Started wheezing, making these whistling noises. I was like,
Really?
that is weird." But yeah, I mean, I feel okay. I just sound like crap.
Yeah. Well, let's. So what happened to you tonight? We both were out hunting this evening.
Yeah, it was kind of warm getting in, and the deer moved late,
Yeah.
and I was kind of in an area that was tucked back in
Hunting and stuff.
on my plot, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my plot broken up in 3 blocks. On either side, the 2 wide blocks are all clover, and in the center is Wingman from Domain.
Yep.
And that has a bunch of different brassicas and kohlrabi and stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
And what's up, hunting stuff? And so the center portion there started to fill up about an hour before dark, and I had a nice big doe with some fawns in there, and I'm one of them 25 and under guys, and she came in at 25.9, and so, like I said, I started setting up the cameras, getting ready to shoot her, and I was just getting ready to draw back,
Yep.
and she turned her butt right at me and started walking straight away. And I was like, "Oh man, I got the cameras rolling and everything, you know."
And was that before or after you butt downed me?
That was all after I butt downed you.
Was it really?
That
really?
was ridiculous. I was trying to put my phone away, and I heard it go.
I didn't mind it. I thought that was cool.
I was like, "Oh no!" I'm trying to hit end call, but you picked up. So
yeah, I picked up because I was sitting in there because I was in the stand early tonight, you know, and I got in the stand at 2:30 today.
Yeah,
I don't know if
in
you
by 3.
Or I didn't know if you heard about my buddy Bob. His dad is doing real bad, and they took him off the ventilator today, and that's the reason why I didn't go down to Ohio, because they got a call yesterday saying that his dad was in a hospital and he wasn't doing real well. Well, today they decided to take him off. So say a prayer, everybody, for Bob, my best friend Bob, and his family, and his dad and his mom. They took him off of the life support this evening, and they're waiting for him to pass. Believe it or not, I don't know why. They do, not them, but the hospital. They said they have to take them off and let it go naturally. I'm like, you couldn't give them nothing to help, and they just got to stand there and like basically watch them pass. Which
that's hard to do. That's hard to do. I did that with my grandmother. That was nasty.
Yeah,
Didn't
well,
like it.
I talked to Bob a few times tonight. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I told him to be saying prayers. Hey, Pete, what's up, Phil? So everybody in this chat tonight, please say a prayer for Bob and his family. They need it, especially Bob.
There's Mrs. P and Mr. P.
Oh yeah, they're my biggest fans, I think. But hunting stuff's really close to my mom and dad. Being
he's runner up, huh?
Yes, he is. Yes,
Peterson's
he is.
in. How's it going?
So we got a topic tonight, but I don't want to talk about the topic right yet. I want to. Okay. So what exactly? Everything that you had go on tonight in your stand, do it from like the beginning when you got in, and just like take us through your hunt tonight, and then I'll take you through my hunt tonight as well.
Okay, tonight, like I said, it was so warm I didn't want to go far, so my destination plots are just across the road from my house, and it's a 20-acre field, and I have a food plot that stretches on the whole full length of one side of the field, and it equates a little over 2 acres, something like that. And so anyhow, that it butts up against the woods. So I got in there. I tried not to sweat it up, which I did pretty well at not sweating. That was good. And I got up in the tree and texted you a few times just to see how you was doing, getting in the tree and everything, how warm you was and all that jazz. And then I ended up butt down you accidentally because I was trying
you
to put
showed
the
me your
phone
plot.
away.
You showed me your plot.
We were FaceTiming in the tree. And I said, look at this. And I held the phone and I scanned the whole field and showed Ted my plots. And so I got that put away and said goodbye to him. And so I was sitting there and man, it was slow night. I did have 9 hens come out of the corner of one field and they cat a corner, went straight across over to the other neighbor's property there.
Yep.
And I got to watch them play and fight and all that jazz. And
were they in your wingman too? Do you have any foxtail?
They was coming in, but they veered off and they was hitting the foxtail that was in my
you have
screen.
That too.
Yeah, it's all through my screen in my incognito.
Yeah, well,
I think wingman. I don't know if it's in that. I don't know if it's in that incognito this year or what.
I think it's in wingman because I never had that stuff before, Chris. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, our wingman is got that fox tail in it as well. But it's really cool because I think it has a little bit of cover and it makes them feel a little safe. I think in there because I got some beds in there as well. But the turkey loved that foxtail. Me and my son Theo, when he shot his buck last Saturday, we watched about 6 or 8. Gobblers come into there in a couple hens and they were tearing up the foxtail, man.
Well, out in front of the plots, halfway across the field, parallel to it.
Yeah. I
put a strip of screen the whole way across to screen the road so people weren't spotlighting and stuff back into my plots.
Yep.
And them turkey went right into that incognito, which got stunted out really bad because we didn't get any rain for a month and a half.
Drought, yeah, for sure.
And so the stuff's only like 2 foot tall, but so is the foxtail. Well, those turkeys, they went from one end of that strip all the way across the field. They started at one end and went the whole way, and they just pecked the whole way through there.
Yeah, that's
what they did. It took them like an hour to get across the field.
They were eating good, though. They were eating good.
Yeah, they enjoyed that. They really did.
Yeah, and that was the first time I saw that, too. So I was like, man, we're onto something here for turkeys, I guess. You know what I mean? So,
right.
So what happened with the deer then?
So as I said, I'm tucked back in. And the problem with this stand is they got to be right in front of you. But that's why I put the wingman in the middle, because that's the ice cream, on the meal. And they usually feed out of the clover and come into the wingman and spend all night in there. And that's why my wingman's this tall.
Yeah.
Because they just mow it off. But an hour before dark, I don't know what happened, but I heard hoof thumping coming across the property.
Yeah.
And I looked out through the field and I could see them coming. There was like 6 or 7. I can't remember how many. I think there was 6 in the plot with me and then a 7th one on the outside. But I think there was 7 doe that come running across the field straight to the wingman. They ran the whole way across and hit the wingman right in front of me. And 2 of them were large doe. And I was like, ooh, I got 2 moving targets here. Well, then one crossed through my screen and went out into the clover. I was like, okay, I only got one choice now. And she was just flirting with death. She kept coming in and then moving on, coming in and moving. And like I said earlier, I'm like a 25-yard and in guy. Like too much stuff can happen over 25 yards. I don't care how fast your bow is or how quiet you think it is. A lot of stuff can happen. Well, anyhow, she was in at 25.9 yards according to my rangefinder, and I even reached up. That was I try not to do that, but I reached up because I had the Tacticam hanging on a branch above my head. Yeah. I reached up and I adjusted it and turned it, got that facing her, and then I had the remote and I hit the remote, so I got that one aiming down, and I got one on the stabilizer in my bow, and I'm just getting ready to draw, and she turned her butt towards me and walked straight away. So then I was like, well, I give up. I was sitting there with the bow in my hand, and I'm sitting down still, and I can't see any of that right hand block off to my right. Through there's a big oak tree, and I'm in a pig nut hickory, and the limbs all hang down. And I sent you that picture earlier. That branch was hanging down. The branches are hanging down in the field, and they got scrapes all along the edge of the woods.
Yeah.
And so tonight when I went in, I dumped some urine in it. You know, nothing walked by there anyhow. So that was a waste. But but yeah, 5 more come in off of that right-hand plot. I could see them coming through the branches, and you know, and then they crossed over and got in there. So now I had a dozen deer in front of me, and it got dark. And so now I am stuck in a tree because that property, it's against everything that I preach about, but it has horrible entry and exit. But it's not a morning spot, obviously. It's only evening. But when I get stuck in a tree in the evening, I got to wait it out. I got to get out of there, you know. So I ended up waiting it out, and I got down quietly, and nothing spooked. So that was cool.
Cool. What's up, Adam? Freezer Bound Outdoors. Yep. So Adam's in here, Chris. He said,
Adam's in. Tell Clay congrats.
Congrats.
He smoked his doe this early week.
Yes, he did.
For those that don't know, I did get a doe first Saturday night there. And no, I see your dad said he didn't see any deer pics. And I don't know if he was talking to me or not, but I did shoot a doe Saturday night, and I did not post a picture.
Cool. And so go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say one of the reasons why I did not was out of respect for the animal. It was a mom, and she had probably had some fawns with her because she was bagged up pretty bad. But when I shot her, she didn't have anything with her per se. And but it was a real hard quartering away shot, and it was behind the last rib. So a very good technical shot, but a messy shot because you take a gut, liver, diaphragm, and if you're lucky, you get both lungs. I did not. I got one lung.
Did it come out on the left side of the deer?
It came out the left side, right underneath the armpit.
Gotcha.
Which is technically what they tell you to do is aim at the opposite side leg. So that's what I did. And the way she was turned, though, she was cocked in a way that I didn't get both lungs. So Dave and I just recorded a podcast this morning, and it's going to be out tomorrow at 5 and on my channel there. And our podcast tonight was, would you shoot a doe with fawns? Or do you shoot does at all? You know, 'cause some people just don't have the heart to do it. I don't mind doing it, but the reason why I didn't have brag pictures and stuff, I felt bad for this deer after I shot it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get like that, and I don't have to be bragging and saying, oh yeah, I got my first doe. I didn't have to do that. I just felt like, because what happened was I watched this deer run off, and I seen her drop. Right. I thought that was it.
What's up, Outfish?
So I loaded another arrow because it was only 5:30. So I sat there, and I was just waiting because it was early. I thought maybe I'd get another one or maybe a buck, and I'm hanging out, and I'm watching with binoculars across the field because there's more deer, and I looked back over to where the deer was laying. It wasn't there.
Yeah.
It moved. It got up and moved. So this thing was actually, it actually suffered a little bit, and I felt bad about it. I mean, it was a technically great shot. It really was. I mean, that's the way you're supposed to do it. But she suffered for 5 or 10 minutes there, and I felt bad about it. So I didn't even take pictures. I didn't even put it on Facebook or nothing. So nobody knew I even got a deer. And I had people being smarty pantses texting me like, "Oh, didn't see any deer pictures. Guess you didn't get one." You know, being an idiot. And I was like, "Yeah, actually I did, but I didn't post anything." He was like, "Oh, you did?" I said, "Yeah, I did."
You know what I found? I found on that. Are you a member of that PA Deer Hunter, like on Facebook, PA Deer Hunters and stuff like that?
But I don't think PA Deer Hunter.
Because there's PA Hunting, PA Deer Hunter, whatever.
There's so many different ones.
But they're pretty tough on those on that PA site, man. I mean, I see people like shooting deer, and they're like, "Hey, I hit the deer," and then there's people like, "You should practice more. You stink." And then I'm like,
I don't like
man,
that.
it's kind of negative on there a lot.
Yeah, I don't post on pages like that because I don't want to be affiliated with that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I won't post on places like that.
Hey, Adam, you're in here, buddy. There's Boxy too. Hey, Adam, if you want to come up, man, I'll share the link with you. If you want to come up and talk a little bit about your hunting, how your hunting's going so far. If you want to come up, Boxy,
Hey,
if you want to come up, if any of you guys want to come up on panel, feel free.
Fish on Turu, how's it
Just
going?
let me know. They're keyboy gangsters. Yeah, exactly.
Probably.
Yeah, but if anybody wants to come up, Freezer Bond or Boxy,
basement
feel free.
dwellers.
Yep, exactly.
Trolls.
So you guys did you watch the video of Theo, Chris? Did you see that? That was he hit that a little bit back, but it was a 40-yard shot with a crossbow, and I'm comfortable with him shooting that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he did a great job. The deer didn't take long. When we found the deer,
expired
it was a little bit. It was expired. Yeah, it was. We went down just to be safe because it was a back liver, and I knew it was a liver. And one thing that I love is when people say, "Oh, there's bubbles in it. It's a lung hit." I'm like, how do you know it's a lung hit if there's bubbles in it? You know what I mean? Like I've hit deer through the lungs. I've hit deer through the heart. There's bubbles in all the blood. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's funny when they say, "Oh, it mule kicked. I hit him in the heart."
I was just gonna say about mule kick. I'm about ready to make a video about mule kicks. Okay?
Well, Theo, right there, that video that I sent you, and I have it on my channel. He hit it in liver and it mule kicked, and it was no heart.
I'm about ready to make a video about it because people think when a deer mule kicks, it's a fatal shot, and I've done this long enough and shot enough that I've messed up a few times, and 9 out of 10 times a deer mule kicks, and it's a defense mechanism. Yeah. You know, it's like for instance, when you smash your thumb or you burn your hand, first thing you do is go like this. Oh, deer's doing the same thing. They mule kick.
Yeah, it's like a horse too when you come up. Yeah, it's like a horse when you come up and smack it once it kicks you.
It's just a reaction, you know. I mean, what if you was standing there and a bee stung you? You'd be like, ah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the deer are doing the same thing, man. That's how they react. I mean, they don't have a whole lot of defense, you know, but they're hooves, and you know, if they want to fight, sometimes they'll stand up on their hind legs and bat at each other, you know, or just react by kicking.
I've seen a few guys do that same thing that you just did right there. I've seen a few fights with guys that do that.
Tranny fight, huh?
So that was cool that you got your doe. Theo got his buck, but yeah, my hunt tonight, and then we'll get into the topic of the thing here. I've missed one, and she kicked and jumped. Yeah, like my dad missed one, and it jumped up and kicked because it scared it, you know, and it didn't even hit it, you know. Yeah.
So I mean, I've heard so many times that that's a fatal shot when they mule kick. That's horse hooey.
Yeah, there's nothing further from the truth on that one for sure.
Right.
But so yeah, my hunt tonight. Well, obviously I didn't go down to Ohio because of my buddy's father. So I took Theo. I'll engage in chat. Okay. What's up, Dean? What's up, Boxy? Thanks for coming in.
Hi, Dean.
Just because they mule kick doesn't mean a fatal shot. Yeah, correct. For sure. Correct. For sure. You are correct. So I took my son to get a haircut, and he was mad at me because I had him redo it again. We all miss your face. That's what Adam said. Adam, if you want to come up, buddy, you're more than welcome to. So I took Theo out to Sports Clips. I get him the triple play. He gets the hot towel, the massage, and all that stuff. And so I get him that. I get it. So I say, my son needs to get it too. So I did that with Theo. And I looked, and the guy cut it, and I'm like, that's nowhere near short enough.
That's not what I asked for.
But I was really nice. So the lady that was cutting my hair, I said, excuse me, ma'am, can you please tell the guy to cut it exactly like you cut mine? And she was like, yeah. So she went over and talked to the guy, and I was done. And I went and sat outside, and then I talked to you. So I went outside. Remember, we couldn't get the signal. So I went outside, and I looked, and then I seen Theo all mad. He gets up, and the lady takes him to the other chair, and she cuts his hair again. So he already got washed out, his hair and everything, and he went over and got cut, and all the hair was on him, and he didn't get another shampoo. So he was ticked off, right? So he goes, I had to sit there for 40 minutes. I was like, why wouldn't it cut right? And then he's in the car, and he's so mad at me. And he's like, I sat there for 40 minutes, and he's wiping. I could see the hair on his neck and behind his ear. He was so itchy. It was so funny. I'm sitting there driving, just laughing to myself, and he is ticked off, man. Like he's rubbing his back against the seat, and he's going like this, and he starts freaking out. I'm like, dude, just settle down. When we go home, go get a shower. So he come home, got a shower. I made him something to eat, and then I said, I'm going hunting. So I went down to my stand about 2:30. And as soon as I get in there, I seen a tail up on the flat where they normally bed. And it's up on the hill and it's a flat. And I tried to skirt underneath that hill to get to my stand. Yeah. But even though it rained today, it was pretty loud in the woods. It was still dry as heck out, So I tried to creep up there, and I was sweating. But thank God for that Limit Shield, Chris. I can't say enough great things about a Limit Shield. I mean that. I took a shower today in the Limit Shield. I went down, I coated my hair and everything, all the armpits, all behind the legs, feet, with all that. Sprayed my gear on the inside of the clothes, inside out. I didn't spray it on the outside, but I put it on the inside. And I had the X10. I coated everything in X10 last week. So I think I'm pretty much covered with everything, Yeah. So anything that touches your body, you want to treat with the X10. So that's what I did. Underwear, socks, undergarments, base layers, all that stuff.
Anything next to skin.
Yeah. So face mask, gloves, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I walked up there and I creeped up there and I seen the tail go and it went off to the left and I got in my stand. Well, actually I went over and I freshened my scrape up and then I pulled my camera from the one down below and I pulled my chip from the top. Right. And I looked at the cameras today. I got a bunch of small bucks again, like 4 small bucks and a couple doe, but that one that I seen tonight wasn't on there yet. So, So I get in my stand, and I guess 15 minutes later, 2:45, I'm sitting there, and I hear and I see this doe come down, and she must have come down to check me out because she knew I come up there, and she wanted to see what the heck was going on. So she come walking down, scoping me out, like looking for me, like coming down, like looking. Right. And I'm just sitting there. She looked up at me and she's looking and she's doing her head movements and all that. I'm just sitting there, and she put her head down. She walked away, and there's an acorn tree to the right of me about 30 yards. But it ain't dropping acorns. There's no acorns on the tree. And if there is, they're very small and minimal because I can't really see too many. Okay. So she went over there, and then she went behind me, and then she ended up going back into the thicket. So I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, maybe an hour later or so, I think I talked to you after that, and then I look over to my left by my scrape, and I could see the bushes moving. So I'm looking, and there's a doe in there feeding, and then she comes walking out to the scrape, and 2 little ones come out with her, and they get behind me. And they're just walking behind me, so I'm not really paying them no attention. I could hear them, so I'm trying to keep them in where they're at, behind me before I move. Right. And so I'm sitting there. They come up, and then she's looking. She didn't smell me at all. And then they were behind me. Then I didn't hear them for a while. So then I look to my left, and I see a buck, and it's the thickest stuff you could think of. And I'm looking at it, and I seen the rack. I'm like, all right, and it looks a little small. And it come walking out, and I'm like, that ain't too bad. And then I'm looking at it, and then I look behind it, and I see another buck further in, feeding on leaves above his head. Like I could see it, but his rack was, I think it was the small little 3-point that I've seen, really wide, but just real thin. And it was in there, and it disappeared into the thicket. And this deer come out, and it was walking basically from my left straight to me, feeding. But then I moved, and I guess the doe was behind me, and she busted me moving. She didn't smell me because I was directly downwind of even the buck. I was directly downwind because it was a west wind today. And it was actually blowing into the thicket, which isn't that great, but I trust my Limit Shield and my ozonics, man. I do. Yeah. And they may get a whiff here and there, but they don't. They think it's further away. They do. Yeah. They don't know I'm there. Put it that way. So, right. So he's standing there. Go ahead. You have to say something.
Oh, I was gonna say, trusting a Limit Shield, I would tell the guys about my morning hunt when you're done.
Okay. So this buck's coming in. He's 30 yards to the left of me. And I'm like, man, he don't look bad. If he gives me a shot, I might take him. All right, and he's as wide as his ears, and he's got some pretty tall tines.
Right.
And I got video because I cut a video today, or at least part of the video. And so I'm going to go back after our live and stuff and look through all that. I'll probably send you some video of it. But he come in and there's a tree with all kinds of branches in front of me, and there's one shooting lane that I didn't cut out. And you know how that always happens. I don't
happens.
I don't like cutting out everything around me.
I know.
I cut one or two branches so I can get an arrow through it, and I try to keep it all natural, man.
Like, it bit us last night in the stand for my boy.
Yep. So
he didn't get a shot.
He came right into that lane, and he's standing there. Hey, what's up, Ray? Thanks for coming in, buddy. So he's standing right in there, and I'm thinking to myself, I should have cut out those 3 branches. I should have cut them out. But he was like borderline shooter. And then I saw he looked like his right side. I got to look at the video today, but it looked like the right side. It looked like a couple inches of his right main beam was broke off the front of it.
Right.
So I was like, okay, that might have saved his life because I'm like, man, he's decent. I could be done early in PA and be done with it.
Right.
And just concentrate on Ohio and some other things that I got to do. And I'm like, man, it's too early. It's too early. You know, I know there has to be something else in there.
Something better, huh?
Yeah. And I'm going to wait till Halloween and all that and see what's going on, see what I'm seeing
That's
in
the
there.
best time. Yeah.
Yeah. So he come out and then she starts blowing right behind me. Like right behind me. Like, and I'm like, and I think it's in the video because I left it all in the video. I'm like, oh, she busted me, guys. And I'm looking at him and he's looking at her and he don't care. He's just standing there looking. She runs down the hill, comes back up, looks up at me, trying to figure me out, runs back down the hill. And he puts his head down and like, she stomped her feet. Like he didn't pay no attention to what she was doing, like danger wise. Right. It was really weird, but this deer looked old. He was a big body and his face was just like, you know, that short stubby face, and he had a white face, but his body was like more like a red, like, you know, the summer coat almost. Yeah. Real big body. And I couldn't get a good look at the whole deer. It was like his body or his head, his rack here and there, and he was moving it in the bushes. So I couldn't really tell exactly what he was, but I knew he was decent. Yeah. So he come out and then he just walked almost exactly the way he came. He just faced and went that way. And I thought he was going to come down to my scrape. Right. And he didn't pay no attention to it. He just walked straight through in there and I lost him. Huh. So what I did was I rattled the horns a little bit and I grunted. And I actually grunted him when he was turned away from me. And he actually turned around, but he didn't come over. So I grunted a little bit and I rattled to see if I could pull him back out. And nothing happened. And then 3 big doe come out from behind me and they walked over to that acorn tree and they were just milling around over there, feeding on like little green plants and stuff sticking up in the woods. They might have been feeding on choke cherries as well. There's a lot of choke cherry trees there. And then they made their way down the hill towards where I come up at, towards my other camera. So then when I got, it was like 7:00, I think, when I got down, I start getting everything down and I walked down the hill a little bit and I heard a couple of deer, not like take off, but I heard them bound off a little bit. And I just got out of there as quickly as I can because it's really easy for me to get in and get out of there really quick. Okay. It takes me about 6 minutes to get in my stand and get out of it. So it's really a nice little boom. I don't disturb a lot. Yeah. So that was my hunt tonight.
Okay. So as a testament to the limit shield, this morning's hunt, first of all, I've been playing with mock scrapes a lot the last couple of years. And this summer I built a mock scrape, put a camera on it, and I've been getting a lot of action. Well, last week I went in to swap a card, and here they made their own scrape like 50 or 60 yards around the bend on a like an old gas well road. Okay. So I can't see it from where I sit, but out in front of me, and then the road makes like a 90-degree bend to the left. And just around that bend, they made a honking scrape. I mean, they've got like 4 overhanging branches and like 4 different separate scrapes right there. Yeah. And I'm figuring, right, that they're hitting that and mine. So on my way out of there today, I grabbed my cards and confirmed that they're all sharing the scrapes now. Oh, that's awesome. But anyhow, first thing in the morning, he read the script, one of them bucks, and came right into my scrape, and I'm sitting 15 feet above and 15 yards away. And I turned on the Tacticam, and I haven't looked at the footage because it's probably not going to be any footage. It was probably too dark. And in the darkness like that, you know how your Tacticam blinks?
Everything loses, yeah.
It was blinking, and I think that deer actually seen that blinking. Because
could be.
I seen he threw his head up. Like, I couldn't tell what buck he was.
Okay.
I just knew he had antlers, and it was a big body.
Yeah.
And it was too dark to shoot. So I was just sitting there, and I thought, well, maybe I'll try to film this and see what kind of buck he is, you know. And the Tacticams were blinking, and he looked and got a little nervous and started to walk away. And but when I pulled my cards, I got to see the buck.
Yeah.
He was standing right underneath my camera working a scrape, so I got a good picture of him. And it was a little scrub. It was like
Nice.
it was like a little 8-point, you know.
Got you excited.
Yeah, he had tines on. They was all busted off like an inch tall.
Nice.
You know, he was horrible looking, but yeah, but that worked. So as I was sitting there, I heard something behind me, and I turned around and looked, and I had bears coming. I seen 1 bear, 2 bear, 3 bear, 4 bear. I was like, what the flip is going on here? So Big Mama had 3 cubs with her, and they come up around behind me and went uphill. And I was like, okay, well, they're gone. And in the meantime, I turned on a couple Tacticams and spun them around. So I should have a little bit of footage of them walking past me, you know, but on Tacticam, it's going to look like they're 100 yards away probably. But anyhow, so I kind of just like sat down and relaxed again because I thought they were gone. Well, I happened to look back up where they were, and here Mama's coming downhill right at me. And I'm like, oh, snap. And she come right down to my tree and walked right past my tree. I mean, fur was probably bristled right against the bark. She just went right through the tree, and one of the cubs came right behind her. And I'm getting nervous now because I've seen all these videos where people got bears crawling up the tree with them. Well, to my horror, this bear comes, one of the cubs, probably 100 pounds, 2 of them, but one of them, I have helium climbing sticks with aiders on them, and the bear starts gnawing on my bottom aider, on my bottom stick.
That's
and then
great.
he reaches up and puts his paws on the tree, and he reaches up and he grabs my second aider and starts chewing on it. Now at this point, I'm like, there's a bear at the bottom of my tree chewing my aiders, and it's like, this is going to cost me some money if I don't do something here. So I leaned out off the tree stand, and we connected eyes, and I just snorted at him. Like I sniffed my nose. I went like that. Well, Mama and the one cub behind me, they took off for the ridge. My stand's like 30 yards from a ridge top. And then it drops down over hard. Well, they ran right to the ridge and watched and turned around and looked for them other 2. And when I sniffed, those 2 backed off. Mama and the one went that way, and these 2 just dumbed around up here. Man, I watched these bears, I don't know, probably a half hour.
That's cool though. You had some action, especially with the bear.
I mean, a testament to the limit shield though. I mean, deer and bears have great smelling ability, you know. Bears way better than bloodhounds and things. So
yeah, the limit shield is awesome. Like I said, I've been using it since last September as my actual deodorant. I don't use stick deodorant anymore. I have the foam in my room, and I use that for my deodorant, and I have not had a problem since then. I mean, I work, I sweat and everything, but I have not had any issues with stink at all. So
no, it's good stuff.
Yep, for sure.
So do you want to get into the big topic at hand here?
Yeah, so let's talk about, well, first of all, Ray has a question, Chris. Have you ever peed in your scrape?
I have peed in the scrapes.
I had to.
Sometimes when I start a scrape, I'll pee in them. You know, get it started. Because a deer will go 6 to 8 ounces at a time.
Easy.
You know, their bladder's as big as ours.
You mean buying a
And
bottle of 2-ounce scent? You don't think that's enough?
yeah,
A lot of the companies out there have 2 ounces though, Chris. And
yeah,
and you got to I try to atomize it and spray it, but I don't like putting deer pee on the licking branch or up in the air. I like putting it on the ground.
I won't spray it.
Yeah,
I'll
deer don't
spray it
pee
on
up
the
in the
dirt,
air,
but
man.
I will not spray it in the air. Yeah.
Yeah, deer don't pee on it. Now, we talked about with Jinx Some Sense, because that's who I'm working with this year, and you're working with Raw this year, actually. But Sean actually made a little bit of sense when he was talking about that.
He
about
did make
the deer,
a good point there.
About licking himself and cleaning them up and licking the tarsals and then licking the licking branch with his face. So there could be some scent on there, but I just don't think, I think it's minimal scent.
I think it's minimal. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, that is a good point he brought up. I got to give him credit. He did overthink that, and I mean, but he's right. I mean, but I think that's overthinking it. I want to keep urine off licking branches.
I do too.
I'm just thinking I wouldn't want to be rubbing my face in my own urine, so I just keep it off of there.
Yep, for sure.
But,
so let's get into the topic, Chris.
Sure.
We're not allowed to hunt October mornings. We shouldn't be hunting October.
I heard that. I heard I have to quit hunting mornings.
You have to quit hunting mornings in October, and why? I mean, it got in my head a little bit because I've been hearing all these top names talk about don't go in in the morning. You're going to screw it up. You're going to miss that big buck. Now, let me just say something. Now, they are talking about mature bucks. They're talking about over 3 year, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 year old bucks. They're not talking about a 1.5, 2.5, or even as much as a 3.5.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever shot a 4.5 or 5.5 year old buck yet. I don't think so. I might have a 4.5 on the wall, maybe, but I shot 2.5s and 3.5s. 4.5s, I really don't think I've really, done that yet. And I don't know what they're saying about the big mature bucks. I get it, because the 4.5, even a 5.5 and a 6.5 is a totally different animal than a 1.5 year or 2.5, or even a 3.5 year old.
Right.
That's a totally different animal. And they're the same, bucks, but an older buck is totally different than a younger buck. And it's totally different. You got to be very careful. So I do get that in a way.
Right.
But I hear that, like, hey, bucks aren't moving in October. The October winds are too iffy because they keep switching up on you.
Yeah.
And you're going to go in the morning and scare buck off, and you're going to scare that big one off, and he's going to move to a different area, and you're going to lose him.
Well,
what's your thoughts on hunting mornings? Because I am a morning hunter, because I work in the evening, so I've hunted always in the morning since I've had my job. I've hunted mornings more than evenings, and I've had success a lot in the mornings. Now they're not 4.5, 5.5 year old deer, but I've had success.
Yeah.
So what is your thoughts on hunting October mornings?
I'm opinionated, but I kind of stay neutral on this one, because I do, like you said, I do see their point with it. But here's my argument. My argument is, like, I'm going to name some names now. I seen like some videos by Brackett and Higgins and these guys, and they say you can't hunt October mornings. It's dumb. It's a waste of time. You're blowing deer out.
What's up?
Okay, that's what they're saying, but they're perfectly fine with going out before dark and hunting that same stand at night. Why? I don't understand. I don't understand that thought process. If you're burning out a stand in the morning, how come you're not burning it out at night?
Well, okay, that brings up a good point for me, because be smart morning hunts on your entrance. Yeah, and that's true, Boxy. You got to be smart on your entrance in the morning. So here's what they're saying. They're saying that the bucks in October are not on their feet nearly as much as they are in November. Okay, they move. Correct. They move from bedding to feeding a short distance, if at all, any distance at all. They go eat and get back in their stand. So what they're saying is, in the morning when you get up in there, you're trying to get in there early, but the bucks are already in their bedding area early, or moving to their bedding area while you're walking through the woods. Okay. Now, like you're saying, well, they're moving to food and you're going in the evening. So what is the difference?
What's the difference?
You know what I mean? Like evenings to mornings. Now,
That's my opinion. But how do you say that deer are always in their bed already? I mean,
yeah, I agree with you, Chris. Oh,
how do you know that? Do you have some kind of evidence to back that up? I mean, yeah,
the only thing I can think
mature
of.
deer are smart. I get that, and you
Mhm.
might not. What's the chances? How do you know? Because it's dark. How do you know where they're at?
I guess they're talking about all these professionals out there talking about, hey, that's just the way it is. I guess they're experienced more than I am at that.
That's what I mean. I don't know. Maybe there's something out there that I don't understand. Um, and like I said, I'm staying neutral on it. I'm not calling them.
Because I
You know,
loved evening hunts. I did love evening hunts.
I'm not calling them out like they're calling everybody else out, saying you can't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I don't have any evidence to prove that. I've shot deer in the morning. Now, and Brackett said I was watching one of his videos. Well, you guys didn't shoot 4 or 5, 6-year-old bucks.
Mm-hmm.
189,
And I respect Chris.
190 inches.
I have
Yeah,
all
I
the
mean,
respect for him. He knows his stuff. So
they do, but I mean, that you have to take chances.
mm-hmm.
You're gonna get lucky sometime.
Yep.
And what would you rather do? Would you rather go out and shoot 3-year-old 120, 130 inches every year? Or would you rather sit for 15 or 20 years to shoot a 180 incher? I'd quit hunting if I had to wait that long to shoot a nice buck.
Mm-hmm.
I would give up.
Yeah.
I would shoot 120, 130 inch deer every year. And that's what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can go back and look at all my Facebook posts from the last 6 or 7 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Every buck's been good, between 115 and 130 some inches,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in that range.
Yep.
And that's not huge, but it's a nice mountain deer for where I live.
Oh, yeah.
And I would rather do that every year than sit for 15, 20 years and maybe never shoot a 5, 6, 7-year-old.
I agree with you on that one for sure. It would take a lot of the fun out of it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and there are rack hunters out there, and good for them. I mean, that's fine. Let them do that. That's what they want to do. But that would frustrate me more than anything.
Yeah, and I think public land, Chris,
I
think there's a difference too when they're talking about that as well. And I don't think they really went too far into detail. A lot of them were private land. So yeah, human intrusion on private land. If you're not having any humans in there and you go in there and blow them out, yeah, that's different. But public land, man, they're moving around. They're always smelling humans in public land. There's a lot of, unless you're way back in there. But what was funny what I found, and I've been researching it, and I've been watching a lot of videos for the past 2 weeks on it because it got in my head. And I hunted one morning so far, October 3rd. That was it. Okay, I didn't hunt every morning like I normally do. So it's property dependent, just like anything else. If you want a property that can access in mornings, then it's bad morning spot. This is Dave here, Chris.
Yeah. This is the guy I do podcasts with.
Yep. And Dave knows too. I mean, his channel is awesome. If you guys want to go check out Whitetail Obsession, go over check out Dave. He's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to food plotting and deer and all that stuff. So go check out Whitetail Obsession Outdoors. So I've been doing it for like 2 weeks because it was in my head. Don't hunt mornings. Well, I'm hunting a transition zone. I'm hunting a funnel, sort of. It's a good rut funnel, and it's good because where I'm at, Chris, where I live, there's food in people's backyards, basically.
Right.
They're like apple trees and gardens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in a wood
I used
lot.
to hunt the same way when I lived there.
Yeah, I'm in a wood lot where I have a funnel, a thin strip where there's an old age home here and there's houses here. So there's a strip of woods that lead to me, and I'm right on a point. And then the thicket is to my left where they bed at. It's really thick. And I walk through there. You can't walk through there. Mm-hmm. So I put it right on the edge of that bedding. So I'm thinking this is how I'm thinking. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody has a different opinion. But I figure the deer are out feeding in the morning. I get as close as I can to the bedding without going into the bedding area. I'm right on the edge. So I'm there fairly early, an hour before daylight. So I'm trying to catch that buck coming back to his bedding, and it would basically just be getting light out. Shooting light would be there when I get a chance at a buck. That's how I figure it. Well, the thing that was funny was all these people, Growing Deer TV. This is who I heard it from, but I didn't hear it from Brackett or anybody like that. But Growing Deer TV's talking about don't hunt the October mornings until like a cold front after the 15th. And Chris is talking about 48 hours before the full moon, which is the 17th this month, I think.
Yeah.
48 hours before, 48 hours after. And he calls it the vampire walk. You go in on a full moon and sit like basically all day with that. I get all that stuff. But in the same sense, a week ago, they're Growing Deer TV is talking about don't hunt October mornings or pick and choose it with a cold front later in October. And then they come out with a video saying how to hunt October mornings, get in the transition zone. So that made me feel a lot better just in my head because I am in a transition zone. I'm in a travel area going from bedding to feeding and vice versa.
Right.
So, and that's what happened tonight. I was right outside the bedding area. Those deer come out and they went back into that bedding area.
Here's what I want to say. It's definitely property dependent, like Dave was saying, but here's why. Here's why. How many mature bucks or 150, 60s, or 70s do you have? You may never have one of them on your property. So you're never going to hunt October the rest of your life? That's dumb.
Yeah.
You got to take some chances and get out there. Like you said in your instance, you work nights. You got to work mornings.
Yeah, I got to go mornings.
Either you hunt, you pick and choose the days you want to hunt on according to weather in the mornings because you work at night.
Yep.
Or you give up the whole month of October.
Yeah,
so
I can't do that.
You limit yourself to hunting a couple of weeks a year. Yeah. That's silly.
Now I do
just pick and choose the best days. It's definitely property dependent. Like it doesn't pertain to, like you said, where you're at or where I hunted in Verona in Pittsburgh when I lived there. Because here's what I was an urban assassin. Like you said, they were raiding gardens and going from woodlot to woodlot, and it didn't matter. You could catch a deer,
from the hoods to the woods, bro.
From the hoods to the woods.
Yeah, but that's how I'm hunting, and it's just I'm in that transition zone and that travel corridor. I'm on a point with a nice thin strip of woods that leads to the point, and then it comes down over the hill. There's a hill behind me, and it goes in to the left of me, goes into the thickest stuff you could think of in that area. Yeah. So that's the bet. And today proved me. I knew it's a bedding area because I've shot bucks in there every year, and they were all in the morning. Now, are they mature 4.5, 5.5? No, they're 2.5, 3.5s that I'm shooting in there. I won't shoot a year and a half. A nice 2.5, I probably would still shoot it, but I'm trying to break that. In Ohio, nothing under a 3.5. I'm trying to go for a 4.5, 5.5 because there's more of them in Ohio. Like here, a big buck is a normal buck down in Ohio. You know what I mean? Like because PA, the average deer age is a year and a half. They don't make it.
Not only is it property dependent, it's almost management unit dependent or state dependent. Because there's states out there that you can only use a bow or a muzzleloader or a shotgun. So those deer get to age. In PA, our deer don't get to age unless you have a private piece of land somewhere, and you pass until they get old enough. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Every once in a while, one comes off of a property and gets killed on the neighbors or something. But
even now, even with the youth, and I love the youth hunt seasons, but like they're doing the youth seasons like first, and that's okay. I get all that because I have a youth myself, so I like him to get out there. Right. But they're doing muzzleloader, flintlock, and the archery season, all this stuff.
Early stuff.
And you got to be in there. You got to be within, I'm going to say, 30 yards of a deer to shoot them with a bow. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, you get 40-yard shot, whatever. But it's totally different hunting when you're in the woods just with archery hunters, as opposed to now you got to go in and hunt these deer after. The kids have been in there. The flintlockers have been in there. The doe hunters have been in there. Like there's
you got
all
the
those
3-day
seasons.
Early bear season too.
Yeah,
you can use the muzzle loader. That 3-day
so that puts
early
the pressure and changes them all around right there. I mean,
because I hunt an area that I overlap. I buck hunt there and bear hunt there. And obviously, where I was at today is an area that I bear hunt, and I seen those bears.
Yeah, you
I
got a
mean,
chance next week at a bear then, huh?
yeah, next Saturday it'll come in with archery. If this was a week later, I would have been flinging arrows today. You
Yep.
know,
And
but
Adam agrees with me and
yeah,
agrees with us, Chris.
and I just feel that there's all them seasons, and they're putting extra pressure on. It makes it harder to hunt. You know,
Yeah.
so in a way they are right. They're not going to be moving. In early season until
No.
all that settles down.
Yeah. Well, this is a perfect example. What Dave said right here. This
Mm-hmm.
is well said, and this is basically right on the money right here. What he said, he goes, I've shot equal amount of mature bucks in the mornings and evenings. And this is spot on in my eyes. Usually evenings in September because they're still on the food patterns, then mornings in October. You know what I mean? In November, then back more mornings in October and November, then back to evenings in December and January because they put the feed bag on back after the rut. So
Yeah.
that is about right there. If you go with what Dave said right here, and you plan your hunts and you do this, I think you'll be successful because that's about spot on right there.
Yeah, well, he's in Maryland, so he gets to hunt all those extra months.
Well, I'm in
And
Ohio, so I get to hunt till February myself.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But it depending on what month it is how they feed too. The patterns they're on. He's transitioning out of a summer
Feeding
feeding
pattern. Yeah.
frenzy, going now into October, going towards acorns or dropping fruit and things, and then all the pressure starts to happen, and everybody's saying the October lulls here because they're not seeing deer,
Yeah, that's a
and
bunch
then
of
you're moving
bull
you're
crap.
you're moving into the chasing phase around Halloween time, and they're really not on feeding patterns. They're chasing does and
That's the
things,
pre-rut in my eyes.
Yeah.
That's like pre-rut right there. Around Halloween is the pre-rut to me.
Yeah, and so you've got a week and a half to 2 weeks there where they're not hitting food plots at all, and then they'll come back to hitting the food plots, late November, early December and stuff. So, it depends on which season you're in and what fruit or browse is in the area and this stuff, So it's crazy.
Here's Adam's comment right here.
Adam, you've had too many to drink, man.
He must be sipping on the good stuff, huh?
Yeah, but I like the fact that you're ready to put that food plot in at the pond.
Yeah, for
if you
sure.
need help, let me know.
But yeah, that I don't know. It's just the like the down at Uniontown where we have food plots. We started putting that in a couple years ago. We're seeing a lot more deer, a lot better quality deer, and the doe factory thing, okay, to me, and that Tony LaPrat or whatever, that guy that's like he specializes in small properties.
Yes.
And another thing, guys, is Dave from Whitetail Obsession. He does that same thing. He gets your deer management program going on your property. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, make sure you go over to Whitetail Obsession and ask Dave. He's pretty knowledgeable. And Chris himself, him and Chris work together as well. So definitely asking Dave some limited beers, he said. But Dave is a good place to go for some knowledge for sure.
Yeah, if the guys are interested in those podcasts, they'll learn a lot.
Yeah, go over to the podcast. They have a lot of good information.
But you can podcast on my channel, or you can listen to on some listening platforms.
And everybody in here, guys, too, make sure you're going over to Chris's playlist and play Chris's. He's looking for watch hours, guys. So make sure you go over there, maybe run his playlist for a while tonight, tomorrow, next day, or whatever you can do. Help Chris out on the watch time for sure. But getting back to the food plots with the doe factories, okay?
Yes.
So you have a doe, you have 2 doe, 3 doe to 1, 4 doe to 1,
Your ratios,
your ratios, okay? And he made sense when he was talking about. Now this is small plots, okay?
Right.
He's saying you want as many doe on your property as you can when you have a small plot. He goes because the deer, the buck will mate with as many doe. Hey Tina, as many doe as possible. Okay, so if you have 1 doe on your property, and that buck comes over and mates with that doe, and stays with them for a day or two, stays with the doe. Usually it takes a day or two. They mate with the doe and they leave and go find other ones. If there's not enough doe on your property, that buck's on your property for a minimum of
He
2
ain't
days.
staying.
He's
He
not
ain't
staying. He's leaving. He's going somewhere else where there are does.
Yep.
So having a doe factory is not that bad.
It's not a horrible thing.
I don't think so. Like taking a few doe here and there, yeah, because of food. Okay.
The only problem with doe factory type thinking is if you don't have enough browse on the property or enough of your food plot,
if you can't support them.
If you can't support them, you know, it's a bad thing. And right now, my plots are mowed. They look like I mowed them. You know, just the whole way across 2 acres. It's all the same height. You know.
Yep.
So, I mean, and I have 20 acres there. You know, and they're just mowing it down. So my goal is to take some does out of there this year.
Yeah.
But I see his point. Where the ladies are, that's where the bucks will be here soon. So
yeah, I
can
like
support
that.
them. Don't worry about how many you got.
Because we have 100 and some acres down on our property, Chris, and you know it's that we don't keep many deer on there. I mean, there's deer, and now they're starting to sort of make their home range because we have the preferred food source in the area. Because down there is just corn and soybean. Okay, well, we got the good stuff. We got the domain, we got the brassicas, we got the turnips, we got the radishes. Wingman, big sexy.
Yeah,
they love the big sexy down our way. For some reason, they love the big sexy. So. And I could tell because all them deer were in the big sexy plot that Theo shot that buck. They all went over there first and they meandered into the wingman. But they all went over to that big sexy and were all in there all night. And then a few would meander. The bucks that went over where Theo shot, the 6-point went over and made a scrape on the pear tree. And the big buck was coming over, and that's when he got the bigger buck. I don't want to say eats a norm, but it was his biggest buck. He was going over to that scrape too to probably work that after that 6-point. And he shot it there. But they were all in that big sexy. It's neat when you plant different things because you might like spaghetti, you might like, hot sauces. Somebody likes sweet sauces. Somebody likes, peppers on their pizza. Somebody likes pepperoni on their pizza. That's the same with deer. They have different preferences. So you want to try to plant a variety of different things to appease all your deer herd because the deer ain't going to just come to eat one thing. Because some deer, we planted food down there. And this happened in Ohio too with us, corn. I put out corn late in the season in December and January. And we didn't have one deer come down to eat the corn in that time frame. They didn't want the corn. They were eating on these peas and stuff like that. The soybeans that were left standing, they preferred that. And it was hard to get deer in our area with the corn because they had a preferred food source.
Well, there's a reason too why you plant blends in the fall like that is for the variety and the different maturity rates. That stuff matures. So everything in a blend is not going to mature at the same time. So that keeps them coming back for more.
For sure. And I know clover is king. Like a lot of people say that clover is king. I mean,
I'm
over
one of those
everything.
Guys,
yeah. And it's cheaper in the long run too. If you can get a clover plot and your deer likes the clover plots, that's a plus for everybody. All right, Adam, take care, buddy. Tomorrow at 5. Yeah, he's doing the 5 o'clock.
He's doing a live.
Ron, the live tomorrow. So make sure we go check that out. Let me put that up here right now, real quick here. Go check out Freezer Bond and Adam tomorrow at 5 o'clock on his channel. He's doing the deer pool or whatever. He's doing an update video on that. So that'll be interesting to see.
That's if they ain't watching my podcast at 5. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, podcast at 5. But I'll be Chris. I'll watch your podcast after I watch Adam's because Theo's going to be on that video. So I have to watch my son because Theo entered the first buck in the buck pool.
Yes,
Theo's buck is the first buck in the buck pool. So that was a pretty cool thing. And then Clay is next with the doe.
Right.
He got the doe. So they're the first 2 on the board, I think, for the pool. So we'll see them tomorrow. Yeah. For sure. And then I'll watch yours, Chris, after. So I'm sorry, but I will watch it. But
it'll be about shooting does with fawns and stuff.
Yeah, that'll be cool. So doe factory is a good thing. I think a doe factory is a good thing in certain aspects if you can support your deer herd with the food.
Sure.
I believe
that support them. I like having them around. I just now, like I said tonight, I had a dozen deer in front of me in a wingman plot that's only about 3/8 of an acre.
Mm-hmm.
And we had that drought this year,
Which
and
hurt.
I was literally taking a 210-gallon tank over and watering my plots.
Yeah, we were going to plant rye. We were going to plant rye.
It's not enough water, but I kept it moist. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it kept it from yellowing out and getting burned up.
Yep. Yeah,
and
we can do that on our place. That's a lot of work, though, Chris.
It is. It is.
It's a lot of work.
You know, and it kept it alive, and it never did. You know, once we started getting the rains, it took off.
Yeah,
it was like 4 or 5 inches tall, and of course, when it perked up, so did the deer's interest in it. So they came in and started wiping it out and took it down half the height. You know,
yep,
and just have it mowed off. I should have put up one of them seclusion cages or whatever you
just
call
to
it.
see how
Yeah,
it grew.
to see how it would look.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that down our way too, just one time. Just get like a circle, like a 4-foot circle, and put a fence up. You know.
Yeah. I should have did that. But
so the
so
October law we got going on coming soon, huh? I don't believe the October law at all. I think it's just a deer changing their patterns, and you're sitting in a spot where you had them patterned, and they changed patterns, and you're still in that spot. Basically, October you got to chase them. You got to move around and scout all through October to get on them.
I don't hunt the same stand even during the same week. Mm-hmm. You know, I have options. I have 1, 2, 3. I have 4 stands over across the road, and over on the mountain where I hunt down the road over the river, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stands over there. Mm-hmm. that I hunt. And then I hunt my own property here at the house. I have a hunting shanty down there and a tree stand, a lock-on tree stand in a tree.
Yeah.
So like if it's a rainy day or something, I'll go down there. And the only downfall to that is I have to use a crossbow out of a window. Mm-hmm. You know, the windows, I should have got bigger windows when I built that shanty, but I bought what I could afford at the time and figured out that I wasn't going to be able to stand up and shoot through the window with a regular bow. So now I have to stick a crossbow out the window. So, but I'm not that desperate for a deer just now because I already have one. So, but if I get desperate, I'll go down there and sit, you know, in the comfort while it's raining out or whatever. I've shot them out the window before with the crossbow. In the rain, you know, I mean, something to do.
Yep, for sure. It's just to get out, and if you want to, you know, just get out and hunt.
I mean, for the guys that don't know, that might not know me, it might be in here. I don't know how many's watching, but like my boy had Crohn's real bad. Still does have Crohn's, but I mean, he was diagnosed at the age of 11, and I bought him a crossbow back when he was like 10, and he was never able to use it. Well, he's going to be turning 19 at the end of the month.
And you had him out this year with you.
I just had him out twice. I had him out twice this week.
Yeah, that's why I put him on the thumbnail with you, because that was pretty close, cool.
So close to killing a couple of deer this week already. But yeah, I bought him that crossbow, and for like the last 8.5 years, he hasn't been able to use it. So throughout the last 8.5 years, I took it out 3 or 4 times, and heck, I've shot two really good bucks with it, and a couple doe down in the shanty on my property. Nice. I mean, they are fun to shoot. I mean, I gotta admit, I'm not against crossbow hunters as long as they're like true hunters. You know, I don't really like the guys that don't shoot all year and don't practice with it and stuff, you know?
Yep.
You know,
that's even when we went out with Theo, when I got mine, because my crossbow needed a new string on it after 2 years or whatever. It stretched because that's under a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And those 10-point reverse limbs are under a bunch of stress. So 10-point came up with a new string, a little bit beefier string. And the guy that I use out there, Ultimate Outdoors, Tim, they're great guys, Tim and Jason out there, and he took care of me and put a new string on. Now they're not cheap. you know, the strings and stuff aren't cheap on those crossbows.
Well, that's the thing. I bought him that bow, and I put new strings on it a couple years ago because it was just sitting there hung up, all strung, you know, and ready to fly. And the serving was starting to fray on it and stuff, and it was barely. All I did is shot it in the yard to shoot it in to make sure it was good for him to hunt.
Yeah,
and he was never able to make it out. Well, now he's kind of on the mend. You know, after having it for 8.5 years, you know, he's feeling a little better, and I'm going to get him out a little bit. And like I said, we was already out twice this week.
Yep.
And having a good time about it. Now, he was upset there the other night. I think we mentioned earlier during
tell the story on that one with how close you guys were.
So I set up on the edge of a property. There's barbed wire fence that separates us from the neighbors, and I've had a trail camera there where there's a crossing all summer long, and we were starting to get some nice mediocre bucks. Not something that I would probably shoot, but something great for him to shoot, because when he was a mentor hunter, when he was 7, 8, 9, and 10, he used to be quite the little sportsman, you know, and he wanted to hunt, and we got him out, and he was able to shoot with a rifle. He got a spike and a 4-point when he was 9 and 10. So now that he's feeling a little better and able to hunt, he wants to be able to get a good racked buck. So all summer long, I'd been showing him trail camera pictures. Hey, look, this is over across the road. He's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, do you feel like hunting this year? You able to go, you think? And he's like, yeah. He's like, maybe I'll try it again, you know? So that kind of refueled him,
that's awesome.
Especially seeing all the racks, you know? So anyhow, we went over, I think 3 weeks ago, and we put up a double man within like 20 yards of the barbed wire fence. And what they do is they cross right there, and they come right underneath you. So we had him all set up there, and he was tired, and he kept closing his eyes and falling asleep. And I was like, hey, elbowing him. I'm like, yeah, you need to be ready because it's getting dark, you know. And a couple of bucks come underneath us, you know, scrubbers that were like 3 and 4 points. He didn't want that. So he held out, and he basically, like 10 minutes left, he like kind of gave up. He set the bow down beside him. And I was like, dude, you need to be ready. I said, this is go time, you know? And he's like, well, if one comes, I'll just grab the bow real quick. Well, we heard, and here he come. And I'm like, get the bow up now, you know? And so he throws the bow up on the rail, and he's fiddle farting around trying. And I'm like, there he is. It's a buck. It's a shooter. Get ready. I was like, take the safety off. And he clicked the safety off, and he's looking at it through the scope. And I'm like, shoot it. And he's arguing with me. He's like, I can't. And I'm like, why? I'm like, shoot the freaking thing. And I'm like, it's a good buck. And we're arguing back and forth, and the thing, look, it must have hurt us. It looked up at us and got nervous and just backed out real slow. He just backed away. And I'm like, I looked at him, I'm like, why didn't you shoot that? He's like, Dad, there was a limb hanging right in front of its vitals. Like, oh, man. From the angle I was on, I had a clear view of it, you know?
Yeah, and you got to think, you don't think of that when you're like telling, like, when I do that to Thea.
I was freaking out, man.
I'm like, it's right there.
It was a good buck.
Yeah.
You know, it was a real nice 8-point. And I'm like, why didn't you shoot that? Man, you blew it. I was a little bit hard on him. I was like, you blew it. And he's like, no. He's like, I couldn't take the shot. There was a limb in front. I was like, okay.
Well, you got to commend him for that, for sure.
Now that was... I said, now that was showing good sportsmanship there.
Yes,
I said,
for sure.
Now let this be a learning experience too, though, how you need to be ready, you know? I said, because one more step and that dude was yours, all yours. You know, it was a chip shot, especially with a crossbow, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So I was like, let this be a good learning experience. But he was kind of bummed out. And I think he thinks I'm mad at him.
Yeah.
But I was trying to tell him,
you're just giving him tough love. That's just tough love, you know?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not mad. I just upset that it didn't work out, you know?
I get hard. I'm hard on Theo too in the blind because he'll set his
avoided it.
he'll set his crossbow up on it, but it'll bang
Oh
in
yeah.
a box blind, which you have wood, it echoes a little
Yeah,
bit.
it
Okay,
does.
so
Boom.
I remember when we were out Saturday, and he put it up there, and he let it like fall, and it went boom. And I pushed. I was like, "Hey!" And I like hit him. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, and he looked at me. He's like, I dropped the bow. I'm like, all right, well, just get ready. Don't do that. So then I put my jacket up there so it wouldn't make
Yeah.
the noise. And he was fine. But it's just like I want him to succeed so
Right,
bad
right,
that I
right.
get a little bit overzealous, I guess, when I'm
Yeah, I
trying
made
to
it
do
too
that.
easy. I made it too easy on Logan when he was young, when he was a mentor.
Hmm.
I did
And that's the
everything but
same with
pull the
the
trigger.
well, that's exactly with Theo.
Yeah.
Like he don't want to go out and prep it yet. Now, and I was thinking about that, and my wife was even saying to me, she's like, he don't want to go out and do that. And I guess I should be like, he's a mentor. I should be going out and doing it for him to get him interested in, so he sees deer. And that's the whole goal, is for him to see deer when we're out there. That's why we sit over a food plot, that you're not supposed to take a deer out of a food plot, but whatever how they say that. But bow's different than a gun in my eyes. He shot that deer in that food plot. They all were in the food plot for an hour after that. So it wasn't
Yeah,
like we spooked anything out. They didn't even know what happened. Now
right.
a gun is a little different when you're taking them out of food plots, I
Yeah.
think. So archery season, that thing, it zipped through him at 450 feet per second. They
Hey,
didn't know what was happening.
I shot that doe last week and she ran. I seen her drop, and the deer all went over and was sniffing her, and they jumped back or whatever,
Yeah.
but they just kept walking all around her. And then I had a couple of good bucks come out,
Hmm.
and they walked right by her. They didn't even pay no attention to her. They like looked over, seen her laying there dead, and just kept on walking. They didn't even
Yeah.
go over and sniff her out or nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
Archery season's totally different than a gun
it
season, I
was it
think.
was odd.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
they'd see her laying there and spook. I
But
even
what
texted Dave. I'm like, "What do you think? You think I should go pick her up, or do you think I should just wait till dark, wait it out, and go get her after dark?"
yeah.
So I ended up waiting until dark. But I drove down in the field, and the place was loaded up even more with deer than before I shot,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they scattered, but
Hmm.
I threw, I gutted her real quick, threw her on the deer carrier and got out of there, and
Yeah.
there was deer all over the place still.
Do you find that do you gut them in your food plots?
I don't gut them in the food plot, but I will
Okay.
gut them in the field.
Okay. Okay.
I'll
'Cause,
I'll
yeah,
I'll drag them off the food plot and gut them outside the
that's
food
what we
plot.
do. We take them down to the house out the backyard and gut them
Yeah.
down there. We tag them and everything legally, and then we get the tractors. You can see in the video. Then we take them down. We get
I
them out of there.
wasn't I wasn't gonna gut her where she fell, but she
Hmm.
was dang near off the property,
Yeah. Okay.
and there's so many critters around there
They
that
get rid of it.
it gets cleaned up quick. And if
Yeah.
not, the buzzards get it, and the crows, all that
Yeah.
stuff. They peck at it till it's gone, and then
Hmm.
in a week you never even know anything was laying there,
Okay.
you know.
Cool.
So yeah, I don't worry about that too much. I just get them out of there,
As quickly as
off.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I get them out, get them off, and gut them off to the side somewhere. And
Yep.
if I'm near a bunch of leaves, I'll kick a leaf pile over them. I'll cover it
Hmm.
up, and then
Cool.
let the critters take it.
Yep. For sure. For
The
sure. So
possums and stuff come in and get at it.
yeah,
No
raccoons or
biggie, no
whatever.
biggie.
Yeah.
Yep, they dig at it. They get it.
Cool. Well, Chris, we've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes. We're going to be wrapping it up, but I wanted you to give your final thoughts on, just let people about the topic, about the October mornings. Give your last thoughts and final thoughts on October
Well,
mornings.
like I said before, I'll just pretty much reiterate. I think people would agree with me. First of all, you've got to have something that old and big that you know of on your property to worry about whether or not you're burning out a spot, spooking the big buck. You know, I mean,
Yep.
they're a ghost, man, and I don't live in fear, so I would take chances and go hunt.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm not gonna say you're hunting the same spot all week or the same place the same week even,
Hmm.
I make enough options that I can get around, jump around to different spots all the time.
Mhm.
I don't like to hunt the same things over and over. I don't want to burn out a spot.
Mhm.
But I don't, for me, and it is like we said earlier, it's property dependent, area dependent, all that. But for me personally,
Mhm.
I have enough options that I get around.
And let
And
me stop you right there, Chris. Can you reiterate about burning out a spot? What do you consider burning out a spot? So people that are in
well,
here.
my thing is, if you're putting boots on the ground, you're putting scent on the ground. And if you can be patterned by the deer, just like you try to pattern them, they can pattern you.
I know.
If you're
Mhm.
walking the same entrance and exit in and out all the time, you're putting that scent down, and they will cross your scent and stop dead and get nervous and back out. You know,
Mhm.
that's what I call burning out a spot,
Mhm.
or over hunting the same spot and getting busted too many times or something,
Mhm.
uh, or going in at night and getting out of your tree stand and busting them out of the field, that type of thing. That's why I stay so late in a tree.
Mhm.
I literally stay way, you know, I'm an hour after dark a lot of times. I'm crawling out of a tree. It's 8 p.m. It gets
Yeah.
dark 6:45.
Yeah. Well, there's
So
times where I'll get out of the stand when it's still light, a little bit light out. If there's nothing
yeah,
around, I try to get down and get out of there quickly because I don't want to get pinned in. But when you get pinned in, I mean, unfortunately, you do got to stay there. But I
yeah.
did find a trick last year in Ohio, and I tried it with my buddy Bob in his stand. We were in a box blind overlooking a feeder, and
Mm,
doe were there in the evening, and it was dark out, and we didn't want to get out and blow them out of there. So what I did was I got on my phone and I got a coyote call on my phone,
mhm,
and boom, I hit that and stuck it out the window and did a coyote howl.
mhm.
Those deer looked up and just left.
Huh.
They didn't take off running, but they were nervous and they walked away and got out of there. And when
Yeah.
even Bob was like, "Wow!" So we got out of there and it worked. So I was
Yeah,
like,
it
"Okay, that's a
works
good."
sometimes. We've tried that before in the past, and if you're in an area that has a lot of coyotes, though, they'll just look at you and look back down and start eating.
Yeah,
It don't bother them any.
yep,
Uh, it,
for sure.
that's property dependent too. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean that's my fine. I mean that's my thoughts on that subject. You've got to make something happen. That's kind of like that's kind of like you're out hunting and you see that big buck going by you. You just watch it walk away? No, you try to make something happen. You
Hmm.
grunt at it, you rattle at it, you do something. You got
Hmm.
to try.
Hmm.
I'm not sitting out the whole month of October because somebody said you can't hunt October mornings. It's dumb and stupid.
Hmm.
I'm not I'm not sitting out the whole month of October because of that.
Yeah, for
Now
sure.
I only get out Saturday mornings because I work a real job.
Yeah.
I work daylight.
Hmm.
I can only hunt mornings on Saturdays, so I'm
Yeah.
really only getting four morning hunts in the whole
In a
month.
month. Yeah.
So unless I take days off, which I don't normally do until Halloween time, between Halloween and about the 6th or 7th of November,
Yeah. And that's about the time you want
somewhere
to start getting out in the mornings anyway, you know?
somewhere in there. I don't necessarily take mornings off, but I take half days and I get out real early in the afternoon. Like
Have you shot
I'll be in
how
a
many
stand at like noon.
out of 10 out of your like your deer, do you out of 10 deer, have you shot more in the morning than the evening, or have you shot majority of them in the evening?
I shot more in the evenings.
In the evenings?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a very good morning hunter, evidently.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't shot that many in the mornings.
Mm-hmm. And
I
that
don't know
and
why.
that's all accountable. Like that all has to deal with the lay of the land, what you got there. You know what I mean? Things like some spots are better morning spots, obviously, than evening.
My problem is I don't have good entrance
Mm-hmm.
on properties that I hunt.
Gotcha.
So you're basically blowing deer out as you go in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I don't hunt a lot of mornings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will take off work early and I'll hit the woods around noontime and sit for 7 hours in a stand. during rut time.
Yeah.
But the mornings are hard for me because I don't have good entrance.
Yeah.
And
I have a good entrance in the morning where I'm at here. Now, at home here, I have one stand. I'm possibly going to throw another one up lower on the hill, so I have 2 different options. But evenings, the higher you're up, the thermals bring your scent down the hill. So if I'm lower on the hill in the evenings, the morning takes it up the hill. You know what I mean? So I might want to weigh those options out and maybe put 2 stands up. Right now I have the one, but I don't burn that stand out. Like I have hunted that stand every day. Okay. And I've seen my success and my sightings go down from doing that. So right now when I do it, and last year I've done it too, like I pick and choose when I want to hunt during the week and mornings. And that's based on weather. Okay. Because weather is king. You know that. If you have above average temperatures, it's not real good. It's not real good. You know what I mean? So that's my buddy Bob calling me. So
boy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and that's my opinion on that. So I think you can burn a place out if you do that and hunt.
Tell him you'll call him right back. I know it's important.
Yeah, it's cool. I'll let it ring and then I'll just talk to him whenever after this is over. But I'm gonna probably end this early just for that call, Chris. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm gonna end this call, end this call. I'm gonna end this live. I got to take this from my buddy here. He's in a little bit of a bad situation, so I want to take this call. But thank you all for joining me tonight, Chris. Thank you for coming on. I always enjoy you coming up here. We got to do more of these this year. Maybe we'll do some hunting recaps throughout the year here. We'll plan on doing a few of them on like a Saturday night or something like that.
Let me just give an endless plug here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Get on over to my channel. Check it out. Every Sunday at 5, we have a podcast. And throughout archery season and hunting season, I will have like weekly updates and some self-filming raw footage of things that I've been seeing. And hopefully you'll get to see me shoot a couple deer.
All right, man. All right, Chris. Well, thank you. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good
Have
night,
a great
everybody.
weekend. Chris, we'll do this again soon. We'll maybe make it a habit here, okay?
Yep.
All right, guys. Like I always say, take a kid fishing or hunting. We want to preserve our sport and pass it on to future generations. And we will see ya.
I'm out. I'll catch you later. Take that call. It's